Ray in the Facebook group said, Hi, Ray. I buy my shares and ETFs through nabtrade. Am I correct in assuming that you cannot reinvest dividends for this fund, which the fund he's talking about is VGS, unless you buy through the Vanguard site? Looking for recommendations. Thank you. I'm joined by Jess Brady and Kat Halliday. Welcome, ladies.
Thank you.
It's great to be here.
Welcome back.
Thank you. This is my first episode since gallivanting around the world.
Mm-hmm. You look remarkably good. You don't look jet-lagged at all.
Well, thank you. Mm-hmm. I tried to weasel out of this episode this afternoon due to the jet lag, but we're here now.
With your mug. Mm-hmm.
With my new royal mug. But do you want to speak to this, generally speaking, with, brokerages and ETFs and share reinvestment plans?
Yeah, so obviously it is important to call out that whilst Vanguard does have their own platform, you can buy Vanguard on, let's call it, all of the platforms. So I think this is important to just make sure people are aware that you don't have to use a Vanguard platform to be able to invest in something like VGS. And so you can go in, I would imagine nabtrade's really similar to the other ones. You can elect to go through the share registry and reinvest those dividends so that anytime that there's a payout, that automatically purchases you more of VGS, if that's what you want it to go back into. You don't have to use the Vanguard platform. So you just need to get in there and be able to tick that reinvestment option.
Yeah, and I think it's an important teaching point for those. So the share registry, like companies, we'll just say CBA and all the ASX companies, they outsource the record keeping of shareholders to what we call share registries, popular in Australia, Computershare and Link. And effectively, these companies manage the records of the shareholders, and you can change your address details in the registry. You don't choose your registry. There's been other questions in the Facebook group. Oh, I'm just buying shares. Do I choose Computershare or Link or whatever? And was there a name change with one of them? Or anyway, either way, share registries do all the admin stuff. So like you said, Jess, log in. Yes, I want to reinvest my distributions or dividends from ETFs or direct shares. But if there's a company who say, well, we don't pay dividends at all, well, there's nothing to reinvest.
Yeah, so that's a good point because you'll need to figure out how to log into that. And have all of the info so that, you'll normally need your HIN, your holder identification number or HIN number so that you can actually get in, etc.
And I think it's important to note, and we won't cover it now, we've talked about this till the cows come home, like chess versus custodian platforms. If you are on a platform that has an omnibus HIN, so like your Sharesies, your Superhero, beta shares, you can't log into the registry. But if you're on nabtrade here, you can, if it's Chess sponsored, the brokerage that you use, nabtrade, Southwealth, ComSec, because you've got your own HIN, you can log in to the registry yourself and manage that. So it's a really good question, and it's great that you're looking at this stuff. Jess and Kat, we'll introduce you in a moment, but if you've got a view on any of this, jump in.
I'm barely holding on.
Okay, well, hold on more. Jess, do you have a view on dividend reinvesting or not?
Yeah, so I think from an efficiency and automation perspective, it's amazing because it gets you out of your own way. It's not something where you accidentally have money potentially banking up in cash, or you accidentally spend it, or you forget to sweep it back in. Where I think it can be challenging is, and I'm sure you've seen this a lot, where people potentially work for a particular company and they get company issued shares, or they've gone overweight in a particular company or sector just because of those dividend reinvestment plans. But if you've got something like VGS where it's a diversified portfolio, I think that works really well. Where I think you do need to be more careful is if it's going back into one specific company, you'll find over time, hopefully if that company performs well and is giving lots of dividends, you're going to end up overweight in a particular company. I had this happen and I just divested about a third of my portfolio because I was way too overweight, just because I had just been reinvesting the dividends for, 15 years. And I looked at it and I was like, the share price is going really well. It's it's time for me to
Was that on a custodian platform or on a Chess-sponsored traditional broker?
on a chess.
Yeah.
And it was such a pain in the ass. That to because I've never sold anything that I've got through there. I don't know if this is all of them, but they had to post me out a one-time password. Post it to me. I was like, surely that is the worst security. They were like, it's for security purposes. I was like, in my mailbox
I've
seems
never
to be.
heard of that.
Yeah, it was so old school. So like, I think that's also a point. And you think these things are highly liquid, and you might in your mind think, oh well, if I needed the money, we normally say it's T+2, so trade, and then 2 days later the money's back in your bank account. But actually the mechanics of it when it needs to happen, mine wasn't urgent, but I was like, gosh, if you really needed that money, that would be a pain in the ass. I think it took like 2 weeks for the mail to come, and then, I think it took a couple of days for that trade to happen. But just a point to note on that, because those platforms, I don't know, they feel old school to me.
Yeah, and it's a good point you talked about the overweight nature of, portfolios. I'm a little bit overweight in terms of kilos, but back to shares, I don't do dividend reinvesting, or I do not reinvest my ETF distributions.
Why?
Because number one, why do I automatically want to purchase the same share or the same stock at the price that's given to me? And we don't time the market, but that's number one. Number two, unless, if you're on a Chess-sponsored broker, you need to be very clear that every time there's a reinvestment, that's a buy.
Yeah.
That's a tax event. And a lot of people may not know that every time that shares or dividend or distributions are reinvested, you still have to pay income tax on that.
It's when you get the money. It's classed as
no,
income.
it's deemed.
Yeah.
Yeah. But so if you got $1,000 distribution or dividend and it was reinvested, you have to you declare that $1,000 even though you didn't get the cash.
Yes.
For your tax return. So there's that as well.
Yeah, my point being, if it went into your bank account, it would also be classed as income.
Yeah, as soon as the dividend is paid, that's a tax event. You've received income. The fact that it's reinvested or just sitting in the cash account is after the fact.
Yeah, I think this is where people do get confused, because they're like, what the hell? I didn't even get the money.
That's right, yeah.
But I think that probably lands nicely with my point, which is if it's going back into a well-diversified product that you're happy with the goal and the risk that you're taking, I think it does make sense to have that reinvestment option. Obviously, Glenn, I would say you're an outlier because we talk about money stuff all day long. I think for the average person?
I would still recommend most people. So I use Superhero, all the holdings that I have on there, the distributions and dividends get paid to the cash account. And then when money builds up, I then go and buy what I want to buy at the time.
I think for some, especially as you're starting out, the dividend reinvestment, there is a question around fees and is it worth the fee,
It used
etc.
to be worth doing when the company's allowed the DRP, when you got a discount on the share price. That doesn't happen anymore. And it could be worth doing if you don't have to pay brokerage again, which you wouldn't.
Which it doesn't. Yeah, I just think for most people, they want simplicity and consistency. And I also think particularly if we're going through a volatile period, that reinvestment into the cash account does create more opportunity for people to do that fear-based thing where they're like, oh, but Trump said something dumb again today and the markets are worried. Should I do it right now? So I think for the majority of people, this is where picking a good quality product like a VGS or, whatever you're in, it creates simplification. Where it gets more challenging is when you've got lots of different single stocks or ETFs.
Yeah, and I really don't have a portfolio with single stocks, and I don't use a Chess-sponsored broker. Having a DRP twice a year for 10 or so years, good luck keeping track of that unless you've got ShareSite or something, because it just becomes a nightmare really fast.
And that's where, we're going on to a different sort of point, but I think understanding the reporting functionality of your trading platform or investment platform, ideally before you start trading, is so important, because otherwise you are up for a hell of a lot of admin. And then it might be, okay, well, this one's slightly cheaper, but I don't actually get any of that reporting. And that's going to be a pain in the ass versus paying slightly more and getting, unrealized CGT reporting or whatever it might be. You might not understand the value of that until you go to use it, but paying slightly more may be far more advantageous if you get heaps better reporting.
Yeah, totally. Well, This episode is brought to you by Sphere Home Loans. We are pro mortgage broker here. If you're after your first home, your second home, your third home, if you want to upsize, downsize, side size, if you want to chat with someone, if you're lonely, give them a call. They are there, and we really thank Sphere Home Loans for supporting the podcast. Who are you going to call? Jess, who are you going to call?
Sphere Home Loans.
Ghostbusters.
I know, but I didn't do it I had half a cup of
That's
coffee.
right.
Sorry.
Kat, who are you going to call?
Sphere Home Loans.
And Ghostbusters.
I feel like we need to do it in like the Sphere Home Loans.
That's right. So you can head to sphere.com.au, or there's a link in the show notes. Yes?
Because it's Halloween month. Was that your whole point of doing this?
I'm not sure, but we're really aging ourselves.
It's a lot of
talking
credit
about-
to the jet lag brain on that side of the mic
Oh, yeah. What do you mean? Sorry.
that you picked this Ghostbusters theme for Halloween month.
Yeah, that's what I was doing.
Look.
Could have happened.
It was just by accident. My name is Glen James. You are listening to Money, Money, Money with Jess Brady from Financially Fierce and Kat Halliday from Behind the Barcode. We'll talk about that in just one moment. Let's get it on. Before we get into it, this show is general advice only, and I've got a license to provide that advice. Full details can be found in the show notes. I'm a former financial advisor. Now I do the Money, Money, Money podcast. If you're a regular here, we call it M3, and we do a podcast called Retire Right. I've got a book, The Quick Start Guide to Investing, is available wherever good books are sold. There's a link in the show notes if you want to turn up your investing to 11, or if you're just getting started. Let's get into it. Thank you so much for being here today. Okay, so Kat, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. Great to be here.
Long-time listener,
That's right.
first time. Oh, and you've been a guest before from your role with Baptist World Aid Australia.
Yes, I was on last year sometime,
Yeah.
about a year ago.
Yes.
Yeah.
And now you're coming in as a bit of a host.
That's right.
Random
I feel
host.
ill-equipped with my vocab to be at this table with you guys, but I'm learning in real time, so it's
Well,
great.
That's what it's all about. Tell us the project that you've recently launched in Australia.
Yeah. Well, Baptist World Aid has an ethical fashion team, which I'm glad to be a part of. We are advocating for a fairer fashion system for people and planet. And we've just released our first podcast. As you mentioned, it's called Behind the Barcode. And we're unpacking the truth behind ultra fast fashion. So I sit down with my co-host, Hannah, and we look at what is ultra fast fashion? What's the business model? What is it doing to people and planet? And do we like the direction that our fashion industry is heading in?
And we support Baptist World Aid Australia on the podcast here. We have the team on once a year to talk about ethical fashion.
Mm-hmm.
And what we've done is Jess has just done a 2-part episode with you on the Financially Fierce podcast. And you'll hear an episode on this feed, and then you can hear both episodes over on Financially Fierce. So thank you for being here today, Kat.
Thank you for having me.
Now, Jess, we've just got to remember everything from now on, it's Kat the listener, not Kat from Baptist World Aid Australia talking.
That's right.
Yes. So we just want to
Switch
make
gears.
sure there's no weird stuff because she's pretty wild. And we wouldn't want to. Just joking. All right. So, welcome.
Thank you.
And maybe I am a bit jet lagged, but here we go. And at the end, we might do a quick after party, and I'll chat with Kat about my little trip to Europe. But Jess may take off a bit earlier because she's got to run. But Kat, do you want to read what Tom had to say?
Yeah, let's hear from Tom. So he needed a bit of advice and motivation, and this is what Tom had to say. I don't hate my job. The work is decent and the pay is okay, but my bosses are doing my head in. I've got multiple bosses, both the big boss and the team leaders, and they're quote unquote horrible. Pretty sure they're all Gen X. And honestly, the most micromanaging, controlling types you would imagine. Every little thing needs to go through them, plus all the dramas and office BS. I've actually had 2 minor breakdowns at work, which I just got so overwhelmed and started crying. Super embarrassing, but that's how much they get to me. I'm a grown man, for reference. The thing is, if I can just stick it out 2 more years, I'll have my house fully paid off and be mortgage free and have a decent portion to live off. I'll also get my long service leave, and my plan is to definitely quit then, take a proper long break, and find something better when and if I feel ready. How great would that be?
Pretty good.
Pretty good. At the moment, if I quit, I would still have high mortgage debt, so I don't feel too comfortable or confident and would need to find work ASAP. I really, really want to make it, as it's only 2 years and I'll be more or less financially sorted for life. But some days it's just so hard to keep going. Anyone been through something similar? How did you push through when the job was mentally draining but the end goal was worth it? I would love your thoughts on the situation. Tough.
Wow. So Kat, that's pretty wild. Do you have any initial thoughts? Kat, the listener, not Kat from another organisation, that is.
It's so tricky. I see why he's staying. There's real reason to stay, but also you spend most of your time at work. I would hate to just rock up at work feeling like this is soul crushing. I don't like my leadership. So there is a balance there. I get the position that he's in.
Jess, what do you think? Because I've got 1 or 3 things to say on this.
I mean, same.
Do you want to go for it?
Yeah, I think to Kat's point, you spend so much of your time at work. 2 years is a really small amount of time if you think about the working career
but
that
also
most of us
an
have.
eternity if you hate it.
Exactly right, but really friggin' hard. Like that is, especially, and I also just want to call out, like it is okay to not be okay. Like I know that he's like, I started crying.
It's okay to be a grown-ass man and cry and have a panic attack. Like,
yeah, you're a human.
Yeah, like it's sweet. I do it all the time.
Same.
Not cry. I'm not a crier. I cry in my dreams though. That's how I.
Do you?
I had a crying dream the other night because I was.
As in, you wake up having cried?
No, inside my dreams I cry.
Dreams.
Yeah.
You have somewhere to release your emotions though.
In my dreams.
In your dreams.
Yeah.
Oh,
That's
I've
good.
never actually heard of that. Interesting.
Yeah. You're learning a lot about me today.
Today I've learned so much. I think I know you, and then you just say things. I'm like, sorry, what? Look, I'd say there's a few things. There's a huge motivation for you to stay. You can hear it in what he's saying. And so I think your decision is, if you stay, is there a way that you can shift your perspective to recognize that how you're currently being managed is not going to change? And so I think if you can get to a point where you're like, they're going to micromanage the absolute shit out of me and that pressure is not coming off, can I detach myself enough emotionally from that and just accept that that's the environment that I'm landing in and get really clear on why you're staying? But my honest answer is, if you can't detach yourself from that, if you can't just like go, okay, I can actually endure this for 2 years, I think you can't stay. I would strongly suggest that you reach out to either an EAP support service that you might have through your employer, or go and talk to your doctor about getting a mental health referral. Like if you're at a point where this is becoming unbearable, you're actually at a greater risk of having a bigger sort of period of time off work if this gets quite bad. I mean, we've seen a lot of people over our time who have had, mental health episodes where they've been out of work for sometimes months, sometimes years. So I think you're in a really tricky position. If I was you, and I'm definitely not you, and I know that these situations are always more complex than what, they appear in 3 paragraphs. Is there a way that you can show up to work, do your job, accept that they're assholes, and recognize that for that work, you're going to have a great life on the other side? And is that practical? And if the answer is no, I think you need to find new employment, or at least start putting the feelers out for new employment. But if you can get to a point where you're like, you know what, these people are not changing, I'm just going to go and just do my job and like maybe do some quiet quitting in between and get paid for it, and recognize that this is just a couple of years and I can make it work, then you can stay. But I think this is an attitude thing, and I think getting some coaching about whether that can be a reframe for you or not works. And honestly, without knowing how much pain they're inflicting you, it's really hard to tell. I would never want someone to sit in an environment where they're having breakdowns every day. No amount of money is worth that.
Okay. I totally agree with both what you're saying, and I'll turn it up to 11 and he can get mad at me.
Good. Off you go.
So Tom, a couple of things. Like number one, people don't leave jobs, they leave managers.
Correct.
In the main. So as you said, Jess, it ain't changing. Now, you've said, I don't hate my job. Awesome. The work's decent and the pay's okay. So if we just have a look at that, you're at a job where the work's decent and the pay's okay. You didn't say the pay's amazing, the pay is crazy. My challenge is you could get another job in your industry at the moment where the work's decent and the pay's okay.
And is the grass always greener?
It is if you're not having a mental breakdown every 10 minutes. My 100%, my advice to old mate is get the hell out of there. Forget your long service. 2 years, I'm not doing this for 2 years. And there's some weird stuff here, and we don't know it all. I want to assume, so he's saying they're Gen Xers, so I'm assuming Tom may be a millennial. I don't think he's a boomer.
Or a Z.
Or a Z. Well, he's saying his mortgage is almost paid off. I can stick out for 2 more years. I'll have my house fully paid off. I'm like, what?
You're going to be on good money then.
Freaking get another job. If it takes 4 years to pay your mortgage off without any stress, do it. And and then he goes, I'll still have a high mortgage debt if I quit now. No, you don't. You don't pay off a high mortgage debt in 2 years. Like something is not commuting or computing or speaking
English. Or is
English
understating and the pay is actually great.
Yeah, I think the pay must be very good and the pressure.
For that to happen.
So I am still, or you leave without pay tomorrow, go and sit on a beach somewhere, go and get refreshed. But I can guarantee you've got multiple managers, micromanaging and controlling types. They don't change. They can if they're self-aware enough. I used to be a bit of a micromanager. I've let it go now. But that was the whole journey. Although my team's probably like, yeah, right. But people, it's hard to change. So what you're saying is, Tom, in 2 years' time, you are set up for the rest of your life. 2 years and I'll be more or less financially sorted for life in 2 years.
He's earning good money.
If it's 4 years and you're under 40 or around 40, that's still okay. Because at what cost are you doing this?
But I also think, don't kid yourself as well. If you're going, let's read between the lines. He's obviously making very, very good money to make this work. Otherwise, the numbers don't check out with what he's saying. But if you're going to move to what you're suggesting, Glenn, and you're going to go for a comparable role, which I'm imagining is good income, it also is going to come with stress. So I'm not saying you should just accept mean leadership, but I am saying if you're going from one pan to the next, don't expect, no company's perfect, no organization's perfect, no leader is perfect. If you're going from one high stress role to a competitor, which is a similar role, from what you're saying and from where I'm sitting, what I'm gathering is you're in a high stress job.
But can't we say you've got a choice? Okay, let's go there. You've got a choice. You've got 2 years breakdown, bad quality of life, or your financial goals will be sorted. For me, ain't worth the money in the world. Or you go and get another job, might be different, and you get it with 2 years. I would rather push it out from 2 years to 3 to 4 maybe if I've got peace in my life. And I only say that because I've had lots of money before and I've still been a depressed heap of crap. I've still been an anxious piece of crap, and the money isn't the problem. You can do everything at what cost?
Yeah, I think my piece is around if you're at a point where someone's micromanaging you and you're in a state where you are emotionally melting down at work, something is not right. Because if someone micromanages me, and I can understand, middle management I think is a shit job, and I'm not trying to condone their behavior, but I think it's awful and I wouldn't want it. But I'm also like, why is it affecting you so much? If they want visibility, if they want control over stuff, why do you care? Respectfully, it's if that's what they need, if that's what they need to show the powers that be, if that's their job, I'm also just trying to understand why this is such a big thing for him. If he likes the job that he does, I think sometimes we need to go and maybe get some therapy or do some work.
Yeah, I think either way that's probably beneficial. Can I ask a follow-up question as the listener that has the mic today?
Yeah.
If Tom were to look to move jobs, do you have advice of what questions you would ask in the interview to suss out what kind of manager you're going to get?
Yeah, so absolutely. And I'm glad you went down that path, because before I give my comments on that, I'm probably sitting down organising a meeting, Tom, with your immediate report, and it's like, hey, I don't hate this job. I love the company here. This is all good. But the way that this is happening, something's going to break, and I think it's going to be me. So I would, and probably, Tom, have a listen to the This Is Work podcast, because Shell's done a lot of stuff about what to do when you work for a toxic boss and all that stuff. But I think some of the questions would be in future interviews. Hi, what's your management style? Hey, what would team members say about the team? who do I report to, and be very clear and even have it in writing. So if there's any hiccups, go, hey, this is happening 2 weeks ago, you didn't agree to this. So I don't know. I think it would just be asking, do you have any other questions that you'd probably ask?
Yeah, I mean, I would always like when people would interview me. So when I had my financial advice business, I often wouldn't get a lot of questions about the business and how we worked. I think sometimes people are scared to have those questions asked. They're like, I can't ask someone about their management style or what have you. And in case you feel like that, as someone who is employing people, it actually made me, like, they really stood out because I was like, they care about the environment that they're going to work into. They care about themselves enough to know that they are not going into, and, you know, the financial advice business that I co-founded, we won a lot of awards and, like, you know, it was kind of a brand that a lot of people knew. And I would spend a lot of time saying, there are some really great bits, but I also want to be really clear with you. These are some really big challenges that we've got, because I wanted to be really transparent about the role that people were coming into. So don't be afraid to ask those questions. Don't think that they're going to automatically cut you out. I think the people that will cut you out are those micromanagers who don't want to be challenged, and that's great, because then you're not.
Yeah.
I would also, you know, this is actually a really good example of, you know, the whole FIVE movement is like, work really hard, get financially independent, then you can stop working for the rest of your life forevermore. My view is, like, just do something that you love.
Yeah.
And it's all good. And why do we have to get to this? This is what my challenge is. Why do we have to get to this 2-year mortgage free, then tools down nothing? Why can't we now start to say, all right, let's pretend I'm retired. I know that you could have a good quality of life with a lesser income, even if, because this is a psychology thing. I have to get the mortgage paid off in 2 years. It's going to be in IT or engineering. This person, Tom, can guarantee it just because of the language. But the challenge is, let's press reset and be okay with, like, maybe we just live life on our own terms, my loot philosophy, rather than hating life for 2 years. Long service leave, that's cute, but I'm not hanging around for the sake of my mental health.
I think a lot of people do hang around for long service leave. I think when you're so close, like 2 years feels so close, but that's sort of what it was designed for, if you will. It's kind of like those handcuffs. And a lot of the organizations, like, go and check your contract. Sometimes at 5 years they'll release some of it.
There could be a pro rata.
Yeah. I also just think, like, you are not your job. You are not your job. You are not your title. You're not your salary. And remembering that. See, I sort of thought they were in sales. That was my sort of vibe that I got.
Just the vibe, you know, the pay is over. It seems to me engineering or IT.
Yeah.
Because they're saying if I quit, I would still have a high mortgage debt. Okay.
Yeah, I don't understand that.
No.
But I'm just like, have you got yourself to a point?
Not be recording today, but here we are.
Have you got yourself to a point where you are so, like, I'm not suggesting that you do hang around for 2 years. You do whatever you want. But, like, what if you just went to work and worked your required hours and did the job that you like and gave them what they wanted in their micromanagement ways, and then once you finish your job, you just clocked out for the day, turned your phone off, because, like, the world will still spin as far as I'm aware, and just were a human again. Like, I think we've also just become so – the lines have been blurred, and I think that has created a lot of worth blurring. Well, I don't even know if that's new, but – I don't know.
And I would
therapy,
also hypothesize Tom may be single because he's used I. If you're not single, Tom, make sure your spouse is in on this discussion.
Very much so.
Yeah.
All right.
Oh, sorry.
No,
if
sorry.
Tom is going to stick it out, I wonder if there's a way that he could just move, like, within the org. I mean, I don't know how far away he would need to move within the business to get away from the management that he's struggling with, but that could be an option as well, where he's staying within the company, you know, still pursuing that long service leave, but solving the problem that actually is really grinding on him.
Secondment or something. Yeah.
All right. We'll be back right after this.
If you're after personal financial advice, don't get it from a podcast. But if you want guidance tailored to your situation, head to moneypodcast.com.au and click Get Help. We'll connect you with one of our trusted professionals, financial advisors and mortgage brokers, who work with people right across Australia. No matter where you are, they can help. Now, before we get back to the show, a quick reminder to protect your financial life. That means having income protection sorted. It means having death cover if there's any debt or dependents relying on you. It means getting your personal insurance in order. Most people insure their car, they insure their house, but what about themselves? Sky Wealth, who support this podcast, are specialist financial advisors who can help you get the right cover in place. Their advice is often more comprehensive and better value than going direct through your super. Book a complimentary 15-minute chat at sky.com.au. That's skye.com.au, and they'll point you in the right direction.
The campfire chat a few weeks ago, I think I even called you a communist on that episode.
Did you? Because I had to Google last night what it was.
You're so used to me calling you a communist.
You need to give people context of what you're talking about.
Anyway.
Just wait till you hear our episodes over on Financially Fierce as well.
Oh, yeah.
Strap yourself in.
Whoa, I'm a commie-free zone, baby.
I just love that at the moment the world is just like wanting to label like, you're a socialist, you're a capitalist, you're a communist.
Can we just chill out?
Do we even know? I'm literally in bed last night Googling, what is a communist? I got into Marx theory, like Karl Marx theory, because I had no idea what it was. Anyway, explain to people what the hell you're talking about by calling me a communist to start off with.
Yeah, well, so basically we had someone write in via email. And I don't even think I've got it saved. And they were like, I've listened to the podcast. Yeah, it's gone now.
I need to frame it. Someone actually said to me, you should frame this, which,
Okay, here it is. Name, annoyed listener. Email, a@a.com. Number one, if you're going to have a go, have the balls or the...
Conviction?
Whatever, to not be anonymous coward, but whatever. Message, was listening to 839B, got 30 minutes in and turned off in disgust. Jess Brady is a communist and you're a woke tool. Lost me as a listener. I don't think we ever had you as a listener. So thanks for doing that.
And just for context, and like it's a 3-hour episode, so strap yourself in if you do want to listen to it. I think what he may have been unhappy with was my suggestion that we should have a higher tax bracket for people who earn millions and millions of dollars a year. Apparently that makes me a communist. It isn't exactly the definition as per Google of communist. So perhaps it's a broader definition than I Googled last night. But I really wish they did give you your email because it would have been quite nice to have that person on as a guest. I would have just loved to hear.
Would you debate someone like that?
I don't think you should, but
Okay, communist definition. A person who supports or believes in the principles of communism, and then the communism it's a political and economic ideology whose goal is the creation of a communist society, a socio-economic order centered on common ownership of the means of production, distribution and exchange that allocates product in a society based on need. You've heard the communes, like the hippie ranches, they're called communes, right? Because everyone owns everything, everyone shares. You look at the communist countries in the world, what could go wrong? Anyway.
Well, it's all, yeah. Anyway, so then I got into Karl Marx, like Marxist theories. I went down quite a rabbit hole and I've been called plenty worse, to be honest.
You probably have. That's
I totally have.
That would
totally
be polite.
Yeah, fine.
I'm a woke tool though. Okay, we asked you in the Facebook group, so how we do this, we just read one by one around the table. What's a product that you thought was a total waste of money until you bought it and loved it? Kat.
An air fryer, seconded. I thought why not use the oven? Why pay a couple of $100? But once I had one.
Hale says a RoboVac. Vac, hot mop and auto cleaning with kids and an inside dog, game changer on general daily cleaning.
Yeah, I bought a RoboVac here for the studio.
I didn't know that they did a hot mop as well. Although I did see an expose last week to basically say you need to get it off your Wi-Fi because it like has a camera.
Oh, mine has a camera, yeah.
Yeah, it can be like hacked and
I got the EcoVax X8 or something. I think it was $2,300. It's good.
I got a hand-me-down one. That was worth every dollar that I spent on it.
I've got Auntie Di, who's my old Dyson.
Daniel, good work shoes. As long as you can look after them, they last years and wind up costing less than cheaper ones that tend to fall apart sooner. That's like, so my RM boots, I think I've had them like 7 years. I've had the soles replaced, I think, 3 times, and they've finally got holes in the top from my toes. Took one of them, took it to get repaired. I kid you not, 2 weeks later, the other one went back to the repairer.
And?
You repaired the other one. It's like $20 for the repair, but I think this is the end of the road. But,
It's so good they do that, though.
It's
This is
wonderful.
my ethical fashion hat coming back on to say I love it.
Yeah, all right. Well, thanks,
Yeah.
Baptist World Aid. You're not allowed to be on the podcast, remember? No, just joking. We just wanted to make it clear that Kat's here as a listener. What did Anna want?
Anna said that mosquito repellent T-shirts were worth the money. I've never heard of that.
Never.
No.
Amazing.
That's
Or-
so...
I have many questions.
Chemically?
Can you
I
wash
don't
them?
know.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Is it a colour thing? Oh, I need to. Anyway.
What did Kelly say?
Kelly said the Thermomix, but then she's got the like teeth emoji
Grimace.
face. The grimace face.
Jess, expensive Miele heat pump condenser dryer. I use it every day and it doesn't use much energy. I don't have time to hang and bring washing in and kept leaving it outside for days on end and have to rewash it. Makes life so much easier. Lots of people tick like on that.
Oh, nice. Renelle said a Yeti Esky. She got one for her son and he can leave it in the car all afternoon and his stuff is still cold by the end of the day. Great.
I've got a Yeti water bottle. I don't think this is one, is it? No, that's Frank
Frank
Green.
Green.
I've got my Yeti one that I have in my bag, like my backpack. And when I went to Europe, I'm like, I need one a little bit shorter. So I bought one from BCF and it just leaked sometimes. It didn't suck
no.
properly. So I'm walking around Europe. I'm like, oh, this is so annoying. I'm like, no, I'm taking this back. So I went to BCF yesterday. First day back, I'm like, I'm taking the water bottle back. And I said, hey, look, this doesn't suck properly. It leaks slightly. Can I just get a refund? Like, just not interested. And they're like, when did you buy it? I'm like, I don't know. It's on the system 5 weeks ago. He's like, all right, we'll just refund you. Just gets it, threw it in the bin behind the counter and gave me the refund. I'm like, are we not, one, recycling it, but two, giving it back to Yeti? So anyway.
Yeah.
I have a Yeti Esky. It's good.
Yeah.
I was going to say the opposite. I think the keep cups work too well.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that your water bottle was dodgy, but I'm like burning my mouth on coffee hours
Yeah.
later out of a Yeti.
So as then I've got my other one that's a Yeti and it's perfect, but this one, just something in the seal, like it just was a lemon. Mia said my rice cooker. We're just going to go through these. Ryan, good quality underwear.
An expensive mattress and bedding from Sean.
And what did Renee say?
Renee says AirPods. My husband brought me some for Christmas. Honestly, don't know how I managed without them.
Well, there you go. Thank you so much. Let's move on from the community section of the week. We've got one question and then Jess is going to take off.
Yeah, sorry, team. I got to go to a doctor's appointment. Story of my life in 2025.
Yeah.
Should we do Jacques?
Jacques, hi. I've been using the FHSS, which is the First Home Super Saver Scheme, as it's such an advantage tax-wise for me and anyone who uses it, and also means I can't get the money when I want to go on a holiday. Amen, brother. However, I've read that if the value of the super account goes down due to market changes, when I access my 50K, they will have to sell down more units of my super to make up for the difference, as my First Home Super Saver Scheme money is protected. However, it may nuke my remaining super balance if I do this. Question mark, yes, it will. Should I switch to a more conservative super scheme if I'm using the FHS scheme? Hope this makes sense, trying to get my head around it. Jess, what would you say to Jacques?
Firstly, great that you're doing it.
It's
and
the best kept scheme.
It's hard,
secret.
but it's also
annoying.
confusing
It
for
is.
people. And the mechanics of actually using it and the penalties if you don't and all of those things, like it's overly complex. But great that you are using it. Yes, you're right. Because I think it's important to note that like the formula in terms of what you get is actually not based on what the return of that portfolio is done. It's like
It's a deemed.
It's like a swap rate plus there's some sort of strange calculation.
Yeah.
But of course, when you are putting money into superannuation, you are buying units. What the value of that unit is determined by what the market is doing. And so, there is a risk that the day you, lo and behold, want to pull the money out, the markets have dipped and thus your unit value is lower. Thus, you've had to sell more units to get that value.
Which is borrowing from the you of tomorrow.
Which is borrowing from the you of tomorrow. But you could also say that you wouldn't have had that money or those units for that amount had you not been doing First Home Super Saver Scheme.
Yeah.
Anyway, so that's sort of how I would think about it. I don't know how old you are.
Yeah.
So it's hard to know whether you would want to split it and say, well, maybe for the a proportion of your money, you want that to go in more of a conservative option and have the residual going in, more growth or high growth weighted option, depending on what's good for you. You could always do that. My sort of theory is if you've got a long period of time, again, you wouldn't have been purchasing those units or it's not likely you would have been purchasing those units if you weren't doing the first home super saver scheme. So I think unless you're quite close to retirement age or you don't have a very large balance, and that's a huge proportion, that 50K is a huge proportion of your overall balance, I kind of think invest in the right risk profile for your long-term retirement needs and don't try to time the market or do anything overly clever.
Yeah. Do you, I'm not going to be presumptuous or get you to tell everyone your money secrets, but and I don't even know if you're a homeowner, but if you're not, or if you are, have you used the first home super saver scheme, or what's your vibe?
Or have you heard about it?
I've heard about it. I haven't used it. I think I was probably in the boat just thinking it was too complicated to set up. Because I'm in a not-for-profit as well, we have salary packaging that's on offer to us. And that's already kind of complicated. So I had my head around that, but I didn't add on the first home super saver scheme.
Packaging, it is complex.
It is. It can be.
That's right.
So I would probably, just because I'm a bit of a simple guy in this crazy complex world, if I was personally going to do this first home super saver scheme, I'd set up a separate super fund and just do
really
post-tax tax claimable contributions into that.
Why?
So then you've fully quarantined the amount for the first home super saver scheme.
And you accept that you may not be able to get 50
Yeah,
out.
or you could leave it in
the market's
cash.
down.
Leave it in cash. If it's only 3 or 4 years, that's fine as well. Or just put it in a conservative portfolio.
You could be giving up growth, but you could be protecting it as well. So
yeah,
there's
certainly.
swings
But
around
we've
that.
got to remember this is a tax strategy first and foremost.
Yeah.
But I don't mind the idea of a separate super account. Sure, I'll pay the $5 a month extra fee or the $78 a year, knock yourself out. But you're allowed to do that as well. And I don't know if employees can sack to a separate fund, but at least if you put post-tax contributions into that fund throughout the year, and then at the end of the year, do a notice of intent to claim with that second super fund and then claim those contributions on your tax return, you're there.
I feel like you and I are so funny because you and I have very different things on what we would do. I'm always looking at how do we set it up and get yourself out of your own way and make your plan simple so that you it just happens without you noticing. And I feel like today you're like, I would do the exact opposite of what you have said for all of you. And that's where it's nice to know, we can have philosophically similar.
We agree that you can arrive there, but the way to get there is going to be different.
And I think that this is where everyone needs to make a determination on who they are right now, not who they aspire to be, this highly organized type A person. If that's not who you are, don't pretend that's who you are and don't set up your money in a way for aspirationally who you want to become. Who are you right now with money? How do you behave with money? Do you want a system that is slightly more complex, requires more manual intervention, but makes you, for whatever reason, feels better for you? Then some of Glen's suggestions would be great. If you are chaos personified like me and have great intentions but need to get out of your own way or just don't have time to manage it, then look for simplicity and automation.
Yeah.
There's no one perfect way.
No. The perfect way is you've got a strategy and you're committing to it. Because we agree on the strategy, we're having different tactics to get there.
Yeah.
Now, based on that, which one's right?
I'm at this fork in the road going Jess's way or Glen's way.
Don't answer.
No pressure.
All right, we're kicking Jess off because she has to leave at 3:19 in the afternoon. We'll see you next week, Jess.
Thank you for having me.
My pleasure. You can listen to Financially Fierce wherever you get your podcasts or here on YouTube. And we'll see you soon.
Thanks.
See you, Jess.
Thank you.
You recorded 2-part episode on Financially Fierce about the project that you've worked on. Just throw your Baptist World Aid Australia hat back on for a moment.
Yeah.
Just give us a redo of because I really want to get behind this because we helped Baptist World Aid, produce it and whatnot. And you talk about values-based budgeting. You talk about caring for people. We all wear clothes, right?
That's right. We are connected to this system and I think we can choose the direction that it's going in and how we participate in it. So Baptist World Aid, our new podcast is called Behind the Barcode. Ultra fast fashion is really reshaping how we wear, buy and value our clothes. So I get to sit down with Hannah, my co-host, and we're looking at where did this business model come from? How does it work? What are the particular challenges and differences in how it's impacting people and planet? And if I'm not liking what I'm seeing, what can I do instead, and where can we take the industry?
Yeah. So as I said, we'll put an episode up, the first one that you did with Jess here on the main show.
Great.
And then we'll put the both episodes obviously on Financially Fierce.
Yeah, sounds good.
Okay, do you want to read what Katrina says there?
For sure. All right. Katrina is saying, "Hi all, I have some big expenses looming, which I can pay outright, but I'm looking at credit cards to points hack. First is a car. After my third-hand car I've had for 15 years was taken to the scrap heap months ago. This will probably set me back $25K for an X demo. Do they even do cards? Can I split cards? The others are 2 2026 Europe trips. Amazing. All 3 are unavoidable. I can pay them outright as I'd budgeted hard for all of these, but I'm sure there's some savvy credit moves. Any tips are welcome. 2 unavoidable Europe trips sounds great.
Sounds it's either family stuff or holidays.
Yeah.
Well, like, do you? And this is not an interview for you, but like, when you went to overseas for like honeymoons and whatnot, like, are you using credit cards or did you guys just cash flow it with cash?
We did use credit cards as well, just because we had some expenses from the wedding that we had just before our honeymoon. So it just seemed like we're going to spend the money anyway. We had it sitting there, helped pay for our flight then off on our honeymoon. So it was a very tight timeline, which we sort of accrued and used those points, and I think it worked for us. But
Yeah.
I know you're less of a fan of the points hacking life.
Yeah. And I think, I don't know, if someone asks me what I think, I'll tell them. But, you know, if you live by the sword and you die by the sword. So we know on balance, the reasons credit card exists are because people spend more than they can afford and can't pay it back in time and pay interest. Like, that's fundamental. And when it comes to politics and religion, I'm not a huge fundamentalist, but with the credit card stuff, you kind of got to be. Like, the whole reason they exist is to make money from sloppy emotional behavior. And everyone who's ever paid interest on a credit card has got that credit card going, I'll be able to control this. Ta-da! End up in credit card debt trying to shake it. So on the car, sure, if you're using it just to kind of flush the money through, there are some dealerships that will take the credit card, but you'll have to pay a surcharge. There are dealerships that will take the credit card, but only up to 5 or 10K. So I'm not too worried about that. For the trips, like, sure, I just did my around the world trip, and I paid for that because it was primarily a business trip with the conference and then the stuff in London. I used the Qantas business Amex that we've got in the business, which I've talked about on the podcast before, just to activate the travel insurance. So I did that. Look, you can do it if you want, but I just want to say, you live by the sword, you die by the sword. When I was, like, I've just spent just under 5 weeks away, I just literally used my Up Visa debit and my Wise card, not credit at all. I used credit once because I hired a car, gave them my Up card, and they're like, oh, have you got a credit card?
Right.
I'm like, oh, yeah, sorry, here's one. But
They can put the hold.
yeah, I have hired cars before without a credit card, but there was a trap. In the States, weirdly, if you hired the car from the airport, they wouldn't take any other payment, had to be a credit card. I Ubered downtown to the other location and I could use Visa debit.
Oh.
Like, same brand, like Enterprise or something like that.
Did you find it so strange how you have to fill up your car with petrol in the US? Because you need to pay in advance,
Yes.
or if not, they put a huge holding fee on your card until they calculate how much you're actually topped up. They're very trusting in Australia in comparison.
Yeah, although it's sneaky in, like, I'm pretty sure the Costco I filled up and it's prepay at the pump.
Yeah.
And they'll just do like $100 hold. But yeah, you're right. In the States, you have to go in and go, I want $50 or
So different.
Yeah. So look, I can pay for them outright as I budgeted hard for these, but I'm sure there's savvy credit moves. Any tips are welcome. Knock yourself out, but don't whinge if you overspend. Don't whinge if you end up paying Like that's I'm probably just getting more like not as telling people what to do. I'm just like, I'm Glenn, this is what I do. And I don't go around chasing points, to be honest.
It's a good sign that she has it all budgeted for. I think that's on the right track.
Totally. But yeah, the car thing, you're going to probably cap out at 5 or 10K. And also realistically with the car thing, you don't want to just, if you're buying second or third hand car and you're hell-bent on paying some or all with credit card, you have to go to a dealer. If we're buying second hand car, there might be a better deal not from a dealer. And not going to pay with credit anyway.
Yeah.
So there you have it.
Enjoy
the trip, Katrina. We'll leave it there. We'll come back for a short after party and I'll just take a few moments to give everyone a bit of an update. Maybe I'll share the highlights of my time
Would love to hear
overseas. So we are recording this on Tuesday the 7th of October. I arrived back in Australia 2 days ago. It's the first time in the studio for a long time. Kat, thank you so much for joining us today.
It's amazing. Feels good to be in the blue studio.
Yoo-hoo!
Any advice is general financial advice only, which does not take into account your objectives, financial situation, or needs. Because of that, you should consider if the advice is appropriate to you and your needs before acting on the information. If you do choose to buy a financial product, read the Product Disclosure Statement, PDS, and Target Market Determination, TMD, and obtain appropriate financial advice tailored to your needs. Simo Interactive Pty Ltd, the publisher of this podcast, and Glen James are authorised representatives of Money Sherpa Pty Ltd, which holds financial services license 451289. Opinions or comments from any guests on the podcast are theirs and not those of the host or the publisher or their respective license holders.
Okay, after party. That was weird how I ended it with yeah, so people will have heard on the podcast the drama I had in the States with getting into the States, so that was annoying.
I haven't heard that ep. Oh my goodness.
So listen to maybe on the way home if you can be bothered or want
Yeah.
to, the live in FinCon episode. At the after party in that, I shared the saga of the
my
visa
goodness.
issues getting into America. Someone asked
Can't go
me,
there
like
again.
a friend, like went over to Chris Gleason's yesterday, my friend, and had a coffee. And he was like, oh, how did it go? And he wasn't on Instagram or see my story or whatever. He's like, oh, so what happened? I heard that you had, I'm like, I'm not emotionally strong enough to retell the story, even to my best friend. That's how draining the experience was. I'm like,
listen.
ugh. But London was awesome. We did the live podcast last Thursday, and that went up 2 weeks ago because there'll be an episode before this goes up, and the team crushed it. We recorded it in London on Thursday. The team don't work Friday, and Monday, yesterday was a public holiday, so they edited it over the long weekend. So good on the team. But yeah, have you spent much time in London?
My parents actually, when I graduated high school, they said it's our turn for a gap year, and they went over to live in London for a couple of years. So I went to visit them.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
A senior gap year.
That's right. It was so cool.
Yeah. I just love London.
Yeah. They were in Notting Hill, which I think you were staying in
I was
Notting
staying,
Hill.
right in
Beautiful.
Kensington, right near there. Yeah, I walked up there. There was a really good cafe up there. I think it's Gilliam Coffee House. I'll just,
Okay.
if anyone goes there, Gilliam Coffee House. There's a couple, but the Notting Hill one is much better. Notting Hill Gate, it's right there.
I think everything in the UK is like a sneaky chain. There's like 2 or 3
Yeah.
locations and you don't realize that it's actually a chain.
So this is so crazy. You know when you just idiot. I'm like, I had to go back up to I wasn't going to actually say this on the podcast, but whatever, I will because it's the after party and no one listens, and if you got a problem with me, whatever. I went to London with £60 of cash. I had some pounds in my wallet. And I'm like, I'll just use it in London. But no one was taking cash. And I'm like, stuff this. I'm going to the casino and played roulette and won £3,700. So like huge amount of money. Never Just
Yeah, crazy.
I just flew. The guy, I was like, I don't know. It's just like, anyway. So got all this cash, had to find a money changer. And it's so weird. And this is the psychology of it, right? Like I won basically 7,000 Australian, which is huge, off 60 or let's call it $120.
Yeah.
That's never happened to me before. Like I rarely would do that. And I'm like, far out, got all this cash. And the amount of time and effort I put into shopping the best exchange rate to save $100 on the FX spread was wild. I'm like, what the hell? You just won all this money. And I'm like researching all the exchange places and yeah, it was like crazy. Anyway, long story short, that was the first 3 days in London. Didn't have time to change it. So went to Spain, Paris, and then back up to London and went to 4 money changes to get a price. And just a tip, one, like don't have heaps of cash because it's annoying. If you've got a significant amount of cash that you want to change, you can negotiate the price.
Right. I
So-
wouldn't have thought to do that.
Yeah, so I'm like, hey, got this, what's the thing say? And the board will say a rate, but it won't be the rate if you've got heaps of cash. It will be if you want to buy currency with your card. Okay. And so this was a really good learning experience for me. So I learned that, number one. I went to the post office. I went to a department store that had an FX counter. I went to another couple of FX counters. And the guy's like, oh, how much you got? I'm like, oh, this much. He goes, oh, and because they had to order it in because they just didn't carry 7,000 of Australian. But yeah, so I went to 4 places and the one that I got ended up saving like $180. So that's the difference in spread. And
Yeah.
the first place said, what's the best price? They said this. I said, okay, that's the best price you can do? Yeah, okay, wrote that down. Went to the other place, what's the best rate? I got 7, anyway. So got the best price and there was a money changer right next to this coffee place. So all that to say, one day I left the hotel. I'm like, because I've got to go back. I ordered it on the Monday or whatever. I had to go get it on the Wednesday. Ordered an Uber. I'm like, I'll go get a coffee for breakfast. Ordered the Uber to the Gilliam. I think it's Gilliam Coffee House. Let me check.
I like that I'm taking in all this FX advice from you, but I haven't found myself wandering around with my roulette winnings in my backpack. So I'm not sure when I'll be using it.
I know, but that's what I mean. It was just like, this is such a weird situation because who wins that much money? Like, it was just, I don't know. I'm just like, this is the weirdest thing. Yeah, Gilliam Coffee House, Guillam. And that's at Notting Hill Gate. And the FX exchange was $2 up from it.
Just there.
So I walked up to Notting Hill from Kensington Holiday Inn. Worked out why they called it a hill. And so I did that. And then, so a couple of days later, I went to, in the morning, Uber, Gilliam Coffee House, put it in. I'm like 2 kilometres away. Yep. Ordered it. Rocked up right away. I'm like, far out. Don't you hate it when you order an Uber and they're faster than what you think?
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm coming, and the lift wasn't working in the hotel. So I'm like, So I get to the car and the guy's taken off in a different direction. I'm like, is this guy like taking the piss and mad at me? So he's going to go the long way to make more money or something.
Oh, right.
I'm like, oh, whatever. And then I'm like, oh, you must just, anyway, got there, pulled up, and I'd worked out on the way. I'm like, oh, there's a second Gilliam Coffee House in South Kensington. I'm like, far out. So I got out of the Uber, just like had there. Then I got another Uber back up to the thing.
Yeah.
But then it happened the next day at another place because I wanted to go back up to Notting Hill because I like it there, to a cafe called the Farmer's Daughter or Girl Farm. Or
Yes, I know what you were talking about.
Farm Girl.
Farm Girl.
Yeah.
Lovely.
Same thing. Farm Girl. Yep, sweet. Because you just assume that it's one. Get in. I'm like, this bastard's going the wrong way. It's up there. That's where Notting Hill is. Freaking Kensington.
Last night I was looking at Ubers to get to the studio, and turns out there's a address with your same street number in Parks or something.
Oh, really?
And I saw an eye-watering Uber price, and then I went, hang on a second.
Far out. So it happened twice. Went to the wrong location.
Oh, no.
But yeah, London was good. I think the highlight of London, I went to a hamlet out in Essex County near Epping Forest called Thaden Garnon, where my ancestors were from. That's the furthest we could trace back. I'm 9th generation James that we can find. And the 2nd generation went to the church that they were married in and all that.
Did you visit some old James headstones or anything?
Well, no, because they're that old. The guy that, like Samuel James, the one that they've got the record, and it's on my personal Instagram, glenny.james, if you want to have a look at the photos, he was buried, and then the next day his body was stolen. So back in the day, they reckon medical people were paying people to steal bodies for research.
Crazy.
But yeah, so there was no headstones. So that was a highlight. And then in Paris, I went with a friend, Amanda. We did 3 days in Paris, and the highlight there was I hired a boat and a driver to do a private cruise down the Seine. Seine? Whatever. Seine, that'll do. Down the Seine. So that was like amazing. I would encourage anyone to do that.
It looked beautiful.
It was just amazing. Like a bit expensive. It was, I think, $850, but you can have up to 6 people. So if you had a group of 6, you get changed at $150 each.
That's a better deal than the all the Olympic athletes that were crammed on like 3 countries to a boat in the opening ceremony.
Yeah.
That's what I was thinking of when I saw you two there.
Yeah, because I said to Amanda, I'm like, I don't want to go on the top of these tour boats with like 200 people at the top. I'm just like, I want to enjoy this. Amazing experience. Mm-hmm. So I would recommend that. Caught up with Nick Bradley in Spain. Barcelona. Have you been to Barcelona?
No, I haven't.
Great walking city.
Yeah,
like
lovely.
Really amazing. Yeah.
Did you see lots of, is it Gaudi architecture?
Yeah, I went to, actually, funny fact, we had a listener on the podcast. I don't know if you remember, I don't know how much you even listen, if you do anymore, or in the Facebook group. I said, does someone want to come on and debate me about something they disagree with? So I did a debate with a lady called Catherine about splitting money with a partner or something, right?
Right.
So she was on the podcast, and, you know, she's a pharmacist in Adelaide. Her husband and kids, you know, just they split their money differently or whatever, all good. I put in the Retire Right Facebook group. I'm like, oh, well, I'll write this. I'm like, P.S. I'm in Barcelona. She said, oh, my gosh, I'm in Barcelona too. I'm like, oh, how cool. And I'm like, oh, I should text her because I've got a text number. And I only did this because I'd met her and done the interview. I wouldn't have done it with a rando, I don't think. And I'm like, she actually WhatsApped me. She goes, hey, we're here for the week if you want to catch up. I'm like, yeah, it'd be awesome to meet, you know, someone who I've interviewed from Adelaide.
World.
I said, oh, I literally don't have time, but tonight I've booked a tour through a Gaudi house, mansion.
Nice.
I'm like, if you want to come, I've booked the 8:20 night tour, and she met me. So that was so cool to do that with Catherine. So, yeah, the one that we had the debate about splitting money. So that was cool to do that. Mm-hmm. The big thing that they're building, the Cathedral of Light.
Yep.
I couldn't get into that.
Sagrada Familia?
Yes, because it was like a month of ticket, the wait.
Yeah. They've been building that for, like centuries?
Yeah, 100 years.
100 years.
Anyway, I think it's finished next year.
Wow.
But, yeah, it's very expensive in Europe. We just get so slammed with the Australian dollar in Europe and with
I think
the
you put
pound.
some tips on your Insta, but would you share any tips of how to navigate the exchange rate blows?
Yeah, my number one tip was close your eyes, pay and pray.
Yeah.
But to be honest, like I think I put that story up, like how much I spent in Paris for the 3 days. I think it was just under $5,000. I wasn't there being a penny pincher. Like I wasn't there on a budget. And because we only had 3 days, we had heaps of stuff in, like some food tours and all this. And it got to the point where it's like, okay, we've got to get to this food tour place. All right, we can catch the food tours are really good because they they'll take you to different parts of the city that you might not have gone to yourself, where it would be like, all right, we can get the metro there, 35-minute metro or whatever it was, like opened Uber, 20 minutes, like, yeah, just do the Uber, because there were times where we didn't have the time. Our flights were delayed landing, and like Disney World, we went to Disneyland in Paris for the day. Again, we only had a few days. I'm not sitting on a train for an hour and 10 minutes. So I got an Uber there and back.
Yeah.
And that was maybe, I don't even know, maybe $200 each way.
Right.
Through the premium
Yeah.
black sedan, not an Uber X. So, yeah, I did not do it cheap. But it's expensive within its own right.
That's right.
Yeah, so it was good. I'd really like to go up to London maybe next year for 5 or 6 weeks.
Lovely.
So anyway.
More Gilliam and Farm Girl in your future then.
Well, so the Farm Girl, I put it up on Insta at the time. See here, it was poached eggs, bacon, and my coffee. And
what's this on the side?
Avocado.
Beautiful.
Yeah. Guess how much that was in Australian?
I'm going to say 45 AUD.
50 AUD.
50 AUD. I thought I was still going pretty generous there.
So that's what I mean. Like, here's a tip. If you're going to Europe, take money.
Yeah.
But I had not done it. I had not done it before, and I'm not known to be frugal. But I just did it all with cash. Like, I didn't, not cash, but like it wasn't on credit or anything like that.
Yeah.
And it was great.
Lovely. Sounds so good.
Oh, I loved it so much.
Yeah.
The whole thing for me was, and with Sarah Kelsey, who hosted episodes on the podcast before, and she's got the One Up project. My friend Nick Bradley couldn't make it to the UK because he had some visa issues, and I had already booked a private tour of Buckingham Palace after hours for both of us, and so Sarah joined me because she moved to London. But again, I think that was maybe £200 each, or 200 either way.
Yeah.
So I splurged because I'm like, haven't been to Europe before. I'm there for 3 and a bit weeks.
Make the most of it.
Just going to go to town, and thankfully I've didn't come back with a credit card that I need to pay off or anything like that. Just all cash flowed, and it feels great.
Yeah, that's why you have the systems in place.
That's right, and some extra AUD in my bag that I'm going to use to renovate the studio to put towards the gyprock upstairs. So, I mean, the gyprock far out. I think next time you come up, upstairs will be done.
Wow, I think there's been some progress since I was last here.
They were here.
I need to go have a look.
Yeah, so all the cabling's done, the insulation, he's coming tomorrow to do a final check. I mean, it's like the insulation's like $6,000.
Yeah.
And then the gyprock's it's going to be like, I paid $5,000. I think it's another $12,000 for the gyprock.
Jeez.
Like, everything is so expensive
That'll be great when it's done.
It's going to be so amazing. So, all right, well, thanks for hanging out on the after party.
Great to chat.
You can listen to Behind the Barcode wherever you get your podcasts.
That's right.
And
produced by the lovely Glen and Ryan.
That's right. So part of Simo Interactive here, our business, we've kind of, because I've got the studio, we're now doing more production services for different companies, and I was able to help out Baptist World Aid, basically did as best as I could to make sure we've covered costs, but also give them a good product. But we also now hire out the studio to different companies. I think Nova radio station in Sydney hire this for Brittany Saunders' podcast. I was talking to another person today that want to hire it for other things. And upstairs will get hired out as well because it's going to be an awesome lounge room scene. So,
Well, if you want to see that handiwork, check out Behind the Barcode.
That's right.
We loved it. We loved working with you guys.
So thank you so much for hanging around for an episode today. And Kat and I will be probably already happened by the time this goes out. I think this goes out the week after next. We're talking at South by Southwest, I'm interviewing you about ethical
That's
fashion
right.
and ultra fast fashion.
Values for money is the name of that session.
Yeah. And I think that's the whole thing, isn't it? When we talk about money, it's like with our personal budgets, we've all got a choice to make. And I think you'll get the most satisfaction out of your money from having a values-based spending system.
Mm-hmm.
And people probably think to me, you spent what? $400 return to get an Uber to Disneyland in Paris? Yeah, I valued not having to be on public transport for an extra 20 minutes because we wanted to come back and do stuff in the night. We wanted to go get breakfast in the morning before Disney. And that was a value that I wanted to pay, right?
Yeah, yeah.
There's no right or wrong with money. But it's the same with our clothes, right? It's value-based spending. And, we live by the sword and we die by the sword.
That's right.
Okay, bye.